Hello folks, Scott Grove of GroovyMusicLessons.com here. I'm just here to give you a whole bunch of stuff today. This won't be real popular amongst morons, but for the rest of you, this is just a whole bunch of information, just a grab bag full of little things that everybody should know. So it's all over the place. It's about keyboards, drums, guitars, basses, amplifiers, PA systems, sound guys that are going to shoot you in the head if you do certain things. So it's about all kinds of things. I've got my cheat sheet here. I just sat down and wrote down a few things that, not everybody knows everything. I don't, that's for sure. I know a lot more than, most people, just for the fact that I've been on the road and toured on very large scales for so long that I have ran into pretty much every possibility that you're gonna ever run into. I've dealt with hundreds of sound men and so forth doing the music thing. So anyway, so believe what you will, don't believe what you won't, but if you don't believe any of this, you are, I'm sorry, dead wrong. Okay, why do I believe that people ask me, what makes you think you know everything? I don't. I just talk to you about what I know. Every now and then I make a misquote, but I still know what I'm talking about, even though I'm half guitared. Okay, again, I don't know everything, but the things I'm telling you about, I know about. Okay, so let's go down my list. Number one, this is one thing that will, like I said, get you killed by soundman, and it will blow up his gear. Okay, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to blow up a 100,000 watt sound system that isn't yours, and it's all your fault. You will get the shit beat out of you. Plus, you don't want to blow up your own PA, you don't want to blow up your own amplifiers, you don't want to blow up anything. But the things that will make that happen are active anything. Okay, so you have acoustic, electric, guitars. Yes, this can wipe out an entire sound system or an amplifier or your monitors, or it's definitely going to blow all your horns or tweeters or whatever you have. If you just simply take this guitar and plug it in right there while the volume's up on your channel on your PA, yeah, chances are very good that you're going to blow something up. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether it's acoustic electric, whether it's a active bass guitar, an electric guitar with active pickups, anything that has voltage going through it, a condenser microphone. Okay, anytime you have the phantom power on at all on your mixing boards, if you don't know what that is, or condenser microphones that you don't want to put batteries in it, so you hit the phantom power button on your mixer that sends power through the microphone cables, and you plug in anything and it has a very good chance of blowing things up. People are like, why use it? It's studio grade stuff, man. You just have to use your brain and know when to tell the sound engineer, whether it be you or somebody else, when to shut your channel down, or better yet, just have a loop selector or an AB box, anything to totally shut off what's getting ready to go into your instrument or your mic without having to tell the guy. So you just shut it off, turn it back on, just a little switch, and again, loop selectors or AB boxes, any of that stuff will work just fine. Or go down to your direct box, it'll have a minus 20 dB and a minus 40 dB switch on it. Flip it down to minus 40 dB, plug your crap in, then turn it back up, you'll be fine. Remember to turn it back up. But anyway, so that will blow up everything. It's that easy. Another thing is, acoustic electric guitars, these are not meant to be played through guitar amplifiers. Okay, I know everybody's that has one that don't know much about anything thinks that you should or you can and throw distortion on it, whatever, but no, these are not meant to be put into a guitar amp. These are meant to be played through either an acoustic amp, which is just for you to hear, which will have a large woofer, I hate saying woofer, but your large speaker and then a horn or a tweeter in it. Okay, so but they're meant to actually be going straight through a PA system. Okay, they're not meant to go through a guitar amp. A guitar amp does not deliver the frequencies necessary to make your acoustic sound good. They're two totally different things. Just because it's a guitar amp doesn't mean it's an acoustic guitar amp. They make those for them. Okay, so don't put these through your guitar amp. It will always sound like hell. If you're caught on stage playing one of these through a guitar amp, number one, you're going to be laughed at. Number two, you're just going to sound like crap. If you think yours sounds good, you're wrong. Okay, it's just one of those things. Okay, again, if you're mad at me already, whatever, I don't care. But no, acoustic guitars do not go through. They're better to go through a bass amp, if the bass amp or a keyboard amp, if they have a horn in them. Anything without a horn, your acoustic doesn't belong in it. Okay, so take that into consideration. Okay, what else? For everybody that has, which is a lot of people, people just don't get this one for some reason. There's a company called Rolls, R-O-L-L-S. I kind of coughed in the middle of that. Rolls, R-O-L-L-S. You can buy these 4-inch, usually 6-channel mixers. They're one rack space, little bitty thing. I mean, the same size as, let's see, my tuner back here. Okay, that tuner or that wireless, either one. Yes, it just takes up one space in your rack, but it's a 6-channel mixer. Okay, and what these are for, you can buy them on eBay for like 40 bucks, 50 bucks used. Okay, but people don't use these for what they were. They're originally meant for simple things like line mixing, but they actually have, these are better because they actually have tone controls on them. You've got bass, you've got treble, you've got volume, which is most important here. That's probably what you'll mainly use, but you will use the tone controls. But people haven't thought of this for the most part, but the brilliant people that I hang out with, they know about it. Originally these were like line level things for different keyboards, like myself. I play keys and I've got my 3 keyboards there. Okay, so it's a quick way to run all of your keyboards into one channel on your mixing board, or 2 channels if you're running in stereo. But you put them all through that mixer, okay? So you got 3 keyboards, you're using right and left, right and left, right and left. That takes up 6 channels. Then you send it all out as 1 channel or 2 stereo channels. Okay, but what this comes down to finally is if you're using a single coil guitar and a humbucker equipped guitar. So you've got guitars, a Strat and a Les Paul. Okay, let's go there. And the Strat is much, much quieter because of the single coils than is the, really high output, pickups on your Les Paul. So you just take the mixer, you plug your Strat into one side, put your Les Paul into channel 2, so Strat into channel 1, your Les Paul in channel 2. Okay, and then you're just going to send the main line out into your amplifier. Okay, but you just turn the Strat up louder than the Les Paul is, so that they both end up being the same volume. People are always like, well, I'd like to have my other guitar louder than that. 40 bucks and you got it solved, kids. So get the Rolls mixer in all of your guitars. If you've got 6 guitars and they're all different outputs and you want them all the same output, there you go. If one needs bass but the other one doesn't, the other one needs high end a little more than another one, that nice sparkly sounding Strat, and then all of a sudden your amp is set to sound really good with the Strat, but then your Les Paul's a little muddy. Add some high end on that little mixer and you don't have to change it on your amp. You can make everything equal volume and get the tones right with a $40 little mixer that takes up no room at all. So go get one of those again, a mixer made by Rolls, R-O-L-L-S. Just put it in the music section on eBay and buy the damn thing. Okay, go look at it. It's as cool as it gets. Again, 6 channels. Can't beat it. So there's your solution to that problem. Everybody should have one or 2. Just go down the list here. It's just going like this through the whole thing. Clip-on tuners. Okay, this is a, cool thing and a bad thing. Where is my clip-on tuner? I guess it don't matter much. I've got like 10 of them in here, and there's one. Okay, here's what this is what this is about. Clip-on tuners like this that you clip on your headstock, and capos. Okay, now there's a bad thing, okay, and I know, whatever, called nitrocellulose finishes on Gibson guitars and a lot of guitars. Okay, the stuff is like, it never cures. It's always kind of wet. It never hardens, ever. So you can't put, you know, your Les Paul on certain guitar stands. You can't put your Gibsons or whatever on certain guitar hangers, or it will peel your finish right off. It will make a big dent in it, you know, because the rubber or the foam is not nitro safe. Same with these. So say you've got, okay, so you've got your old 1964, I love this axe, really cool, but you've got this old 64 Firebird 5 here. The last thing you want to do is take a guitar that costs this kind of money and screw it up, you know, because this thing is like mint. Okay, so the last thing you want to do is take this or a capo and stick it on the headstock and leave it on there for any period of time, because even if it was done in 1964, this Nitro Finish is not cured yet. It is still soft. That is what Nitro is. It's horrible for I can't think of a good reason to have Nitro. The only thing it does is make your guitars look older faster. There's no such thing as a guitar finish, breathing, or any of that crap. So, anyway, a lot of videos on that. But either one of these things, no, these aren't Nitro safe. Don't put these on the ends of your headstocks of your guitars if they're made out of Nitro. Get a regular tuner, get a rack mount tuner or a floor pedal tuner. So you bluegrass guys that have your, your Gibson, I've got them over here, you know what the hell a mandolin is, but you got your Gibson mandolins, and of course they're not electric, and you got these little tuners. Yeah, that's great, but be careful, kids. I mean, pad them with something else that is Nitro safe before you ever put it on there, or it's the pressure, or the rubber will have a bad effect on it, blah blah blah. I know nobody likes to wear rubber, but these things are dangerous to Nitro finishes. Okay, that's the whole thing. So, do I like Nitro? No. Do a lot of people? Yeah, they like it because it makes shit look old. Okay, or they've heard that that's just what's supposed to be cool. Okay, so we'll get past that. Okay, this stupid crap. A lot of people have misunderstood this for years. Okay, let's go to... What I'm trying to get to is the input on the front of this Fender amp. And actually this will do it. Okay, this amp, I know that's too damn shaky. Inputs 1 and 2. That is not, as you can tell by this, just know that the amp has 2 inputs. They are parallel, which means they both do the same thing. They're hooked in together. Okay, there's no other inputs on the amp. There are 2 channels, but this is not for, God, especially any amps. Look at these. No matter what amp it is, you'll get into, like, let's go right below it. Here's even a better example. Because the Fender amp actually does have 2 channels. Okay, this amp down here, the Johnson amp, and Marshall amps will be this way too, the old ones that have just 1 channel. Okay, you've got a normal and a bright input down here. Okay, so you've got 2 places that you could plug instruments in. Okay, this is a lot better example than the one up here, because you actually do have 2 channels. So anyway, an amp that has 2 inputs, that one channel, you know, the number 1 doesn't mean channel 1, and number 2 doesn't mean channel 2, like the Fender does up here. I shouldn't have even shown that amp, but down here, you've got 2 inputs in here. Don't stick 2 guitars in there. Don't have 1 guitar here and 1 guitar plugged here, the 2 different inputs. What happens, and even when you're sitting around just practicing, You know, it's better to have 2 amps sitting around. People are like, well, I don't have the money for 2 amps. Then tell him to bring his own damn amp. But what happens is, whatever you do to one guitar happens to the other. Okay? So you got 2 guitars both plugged in there, and all of a sudden you turn down your volume knob. That will turn down your buddy's guitar at the same time, whether he touched his guitar or not. Okay? Yeah, that's what happens. You turn your guitar off, his guitar will shut off. You change your tone, it'll change his tone. It's all linked, everything together. So on stage especially, don't run both of your guitars into the same amp that way. Don't ever do it, okay? Unless you have, again, the mixer like I was telling you about, the Rolls mixer, or you have an A-B box that totally actually separates things. It picks one or the other. You can't have 2 electric guitars or 2 basses already plugged into the amp, you know, it being a single channel amp, into the 2 inputs. Some of my amps here just have 1 input, which is great. You know, it's idiot proof. Don't ever plug 2 things in there, because you know, you go to shut your one guitar down on the stand, so you know it won't stand feedback, but then your other one won't work, because it's just the way it is. So whatever you do to one guitar, it's going to do it to the other guitar, so don't do that. Like I said, this is just going to go on and on like this, just stupid crap that, you know, if you don't know these things, so be it. Miking the back of your speakers. Of course. People are like, I've never seen it. It's like, that's because it's in the back, dumbass. Okay. People with open back amps. Fender amps, all these Johnson amps. Every amp I own, actually, except for I've got these Johnson heads and my 412 cabinets out in the garage. But these open back amps are not known to be, you know, ballsy. But if you need a ballsy sound, best way to do it, you know, mic up the front just like you normally would, and always point the mic at it. Never drape it down like this. Mics aren't designed to pick up like that. Most of them aren't. There's only a couple that are meant to do that. Chances are you can't afford it. So never dangle a 57 over the front of your amp. It's not meant to pick up from the side. Okay, so mic your guitar speaker 1 inch to 2 inches, and from the very edge of it, and then point it straight towards however the cone is. The speaker isn't flat on the front, so you can't point it straight in. So if it's pointed like this, mic it just like this. Just like you wouldn't put your microphone over here and try to sing there. It's like point it right at wherever the sound is, you know, the paper or the cone is. Okay, now, but put one on the back side of the speaker also. Okay, that will really give you some major balls out of an amp that generally doesn't have it, and that's usually your open back amplifiers. Especially if you're playing guitars that are baritone or 7-string guitars. But when it gets past 7-string guitars, you run into a whole different problem. Okay, but that gives you the balls you really need out of a regular guitar amp like these. You'll be okay with, you know, your Marshall cabinets that are closed backed, you know, and if you want to, people do actually mount microphones inside of closed back amplifiers, and they're just there all the time. Then they just plug them into a jack they put in on the side, and it mics that and keeps it that way. And tons of people do this just to get that major heavy duty bottom end. So if you can't figure out why you are not getting that at a live gig, that's why. Again, like you said, well, I've never seen anybody do it. It's like, how many times do you go on, you know, a big stage and look at the back of the amplifiers? Probably never. Okay, so that's one thing to do. Next one is for the rest of you guys who use extended tuned guitars or 7, 8, 9, 10-string guitars. Your amps and your speakers are not meant to deliver those frequencies. You're going to rip a regular speaker to hell. Okay, so most amps aren't made to handle it. Some are made especially for them, but then you cannot use regular Celestions or what have you. You need to end up grabbing, okay, think of this, Um, depending on what your rig you want it to be like. But let's say the easiest way to do this, if say you have a 212 cabinet that you normally use with 2 Celestions in it, and you've got a 8-string guitar, you're going to tear your speakers the hell up. You're going to blow them. They're not meant to go below like 50 hertz, and it won't pick that up very easy. If you don't know, 50 hertz is really low, but it's still low enough that my vocals can hit it. A kick drum really hits down there too, and bass guitar. But you're getting in bass guitar territory, and some of your strings are going to get lower than some bass guitars. So you really have to have something that's going to handle it. So those 212 Celestions can be your highs and handle everything down to most of, all the way down to the low B on your 7-string. They can get away with that, and sometimes they can't. Okay, so what's going to help is like another 212 cabinet under that actually has bass speakers in it, and then you have to run a crossover and another amp to power that cabinet. Not a guitar amp, but a power amp. A guitar amp isn't going to deliver those frequencies either. A power amp will deliver those frequencies. Okay, so you have to split the signal, go to a crossover, and then go down to some speakers that will handle that. So you're looking at a couple of 12-inch or 10-inch bass speakers, and mic those too. They'll probably be sealed in the back to sound really nice and tight. So you can mic that with like a Shure Beta 52, and it would sound great on the bottom 2 cabinets. Okay, so don't think you can just have an amp that has 2 12-inch speakers in it and just change one speaker out for a bass speaker and you're going to be fine, because the amp itself is not going to deliver the tones as crunchy and as clear as all the rest of them. It's just, you're going to hurt your equipment. Okay, so you have to specially build your rig around a guitar that is tuned that damn low. Okay, so think about that. You have to end up using bass speakers, a crossover, and so on. And you're like, I haven't seen that yet. It's like, well, you're not on stage, you're not looking, you're not seeing what stuff is actually being ran. Okay, so this is the best way to get it to happen. So if you want the baddest ass, kick-ass rig around, yeah, you're going to bi-amp your guitar rig, which means run 2 amps, not 2 guitar amps, 1 guitar amp and a power amp going to a crossover, and letting your top cabinet, work at about 60 hertz and above, and then cross it over, around there, maybe even 100 hertz, and cross it over, and then let that bottom cabinet take care of what all these other lower strings are going to happen, and mic your 57 up at the top or whatever you use, and use a actual, like a bass drum type of mic, which they use on bass guitar cabinets. Okay, and mic the other ones, the bass speakers. And like I said, a Beta 52 is a good mic, a Shure Beta 52, to run on your sub cabinets. And also for you bass players out there, same thing since we're here. If you are, let me make sure I have this plugged in. I do. I don't know if it's working, but it's plugged in. If you have, oh god, bass players, you guys. I'm one too. I'm master of all trades, or jack of all trades, master of none for sure. You'll generally be using a direct box. You plug into it, then go out of there, and then plug back into your bass head, and then just run a XLR cable out to the house PA system, But in addition to that, if you have a great sounding rig, which very few bass players do, most of them use mud bass and dead strings and roll their tone off, and it sounds like crap, and they don't have any horns. But if you've got, a wall full of 10-inch speakers up there, some tweeters, and shit is crispy and just shebang, it just sounds like piano strings being hit. It's like you got that cool, compressed, amazing bass tone that you can't get from just a direct box going out to the mains. Then it's good to also mic up your bass amp. And when you have speakers and horns, you can do it 2 ways. You can take that same type of mic, a Beta 52, and mic the speaker, which is a great way to do it, and then have another little mic, a little condenser mic to actually mic the tweeter. I mean, that's giving you half your damn horn with that flipping horn there, okay? Or put it somewhere in between the two, but mess around with it. But you have to include the high end in there. I mean, that's half your damn sound. You know, for you guys, you know, Victor Wooten type players, you know, you gotta get the speaker and the tweeter. There's a reason the tweeter's there, man. Clarity like crazy. And then the smaller the speaker, those little 8s, man, or the 10s, punch. You know, you start getting up to 15-inch speakers, or God forbid 18s. It's just they have no time to, you know, reflex and come back before the next note. You know, especially if you're one of those, you know, guys that play 16th notes or 32nd notes on their bass. You need a good tight, you know, little speaker like 8s or 10s that will reflex and come back and get ready to shoot the next note out. The big speakers, they don't have enough time to travel out, come back and do it again, so smaller speakers better. So what I'm trying to say there again is just to mic your speaker and your tweeter if you have a great sounding bass rig. Otherwise, if you have a crappy sound, just run through their direct box. Your bandmates, I'm sure, let you know all the time. Bass players are notorious for having the world's worst sounds in the world. Just the way they are, they generally don't care. They don't care to tune, they don't care to tune, yeah, that's true too. And they usually don't care if their strings are dead. They like to roll off their tone knobs and it's just horrible. But it's the world we live in. Okay, what else is here? Older guitars. Do they sound better than new guitars? No. And it doesn't matter whether it's acoustic or electric. Oh my God, did he really say that? Yes, it is true. The drier the guitar, the better. Okay, this is just simple fact. So people that are bitching about the baked maple thing, dudes, you're missing out. That is the best way to go on so much stuff. If they would just dry wood completely out on acoustics, on electrics, on blah blah blah. Most manufacturers take woods that are still somewhat green, meaning they still have some kind of moisture in them, and they haven't totally dried the wood out. Okay, sorry. But yeah, even acoustics, people are like, man, I put my Martin in front of my stereo speakers and it sits there in front of my surround sound, in front of my TV all the time, so that it, you know, in front of the woofer subs, so that it's constantly moving that wood so it'll get worn in. Or, you know, the wood from my 1956 Les Paul, you know, the way it has just aged and it sounds so much better that it doesn't make a difference. You can say it does, but boom, it doesn't. There are people who will argue it. Why? Because people love to argue, but it makes no difference. It honestly doesn't. Just drier wood is just especially, you know, acoustic guitars are about the only way you can really tell, but because electric guitars, it really don't. Electric guitars, again, the wood makes no difference. People will argue, but what your guitar pick is made out of will make 100 times more difference in your tone than what kind of wood your electric guitar or your bass is made out of. So whether you use celluloid, you know, the old Fender looking crap, or nylon picks, the Tortex stuff, metal, a coin, or stone, you know, from the Mind picks, acrylics, different things, all that stuff will matter so much more than anything that wood will do to your guitar. Plus, I bang everything around. Where you play at, if you play, pretend this is electric because I'm not reaching up and grabbing my electrics anymore. If you're playing right here, or if you're playing a 1/4 inch back this way, that will make all the difference in the world. Or back here, or back here, or back here, or up here. That will make more difference than the guitar pick will. So it's a matter of where you play and what your pick is made out of and what your technique is like, and the wood is probably the last thing that makes any difference in your tone. And of course your pickups make difference. Your alloy of your nut and your frets and of your bridge make a difference. But the wood, no. The finish, no. Okay, more. What else is fun? Oh, this. About the guitar strings being, if you're going to take a guitar and hang it and let it hang for 30 years on the wall, or if you're going to put it in a case and store it for 30 years, stick it under the bed, that old story, and then somebody will find it 30 years from now. Okay, here is the thing. Keep the strings in tune, don't loosen them. Okay, for shipping and for air travel, yeah, loosen them one turn. Not all the way, just one turn. Not even, a half turn, just go, you don't need to go and do an entire 24 or 360 on the thing. Just do a 180 turn, just loosen a little bit for flying or for when you sell a guitar and ship it. But if you're storing a guitar, store it tuned. Leave it tuned. That's what your neck tension is for. You're going to screw up your guitar if you take the strings off and store it forever. Your neck is going to be all over the place. It'll never be able to be played again unless you get a new neck. Okay, and that's fine and dandy for bolt-on necks, which I love way more than glued in or neck through, because you can actually save a guitar. But yeah, that's the God's honest truth. Keep it full tension. Tune it up, take it out every now and then, tune it up again to make sure there's the correct tension all the way across. If you have your high E keeps going flat and your B, but the other one stay in tune, and you don't check it, yeah, your neck's going to start to warp after a few years because you don't have the right tension on there. So get it out and tune it once a year if you're going to do that. Make sure a string hasn't broken and that it's going to favor one side or the other and warp on you. So it's very important for wood. Composite guitars, it makes no difference. Graphite guitars, the composite stuff, all that, way better than wood. All the way around. Even on acoustic guitars, it's just better. But, I know you don't believe me, but so, well, I'm used to it. Like I said, I know these things, you don't, but you can pick what you choose to believe and the rest of it. Continue to be a retard, which is fine. Okay, let's see. Oh, just for fun, the inventor of the electric guitar. No, it was not anybody at Gibson or anybody at Fender or anybody at Rickenbacker. They all missed it like by at least 50 years. Okay, this was actually a serviceman, George Breed, back in 1890, were the first electric guitars. Yes, I've got more stuff to tell you, but just thought I'd throw that at you. Electric guitars have been around since 1890. The patent's been on them since then. George Breed, just look him up. For everybody who thinks it's somebody else, no. That's who invented electric guitars, period. Other people, yeah, did solid bodies, but as far as electric, actually electrifying a guitar. Okay. Never play your bass guitars through your guitar amps. It's fine to go the other way, of course. People have been loving playing guitars through Fender basement amps for years. That's fine, but not the other way around. You're going to blow your speakers up again. You play a bass through a guitar amp. It's not meant to do it again. The speakers can't handle those low frequencies. You're going to blow them up. The amp itself will tolerate it to a degree, but by the time it gets to the speakers, you're going to fry them. So don't play a bass through a guitar amp unless you just want to have some fun, turn it wide open, hit your low B string and just watch your speaker turn inside out. I've done that many times. It's fun to do. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? Oh, good God. More stuff. I'll get to that in a little bit. Let's finish this up. No two tuners are the same. Okay, this is a biggie, especially if you're in a band. My Martin tuner right here, this Fishman, that's built into my Martin, sucks. I've thrown it on my Con Strobo tuner, the Peterson, these other ones down here. Check the calibration on them all. There's only one note, and that is the B string on this Martin guitar, on that, again, Fishman preamp, that is anywhere close to even being in tune. So that tuner is worthless. All these little $12 things, all these little Korgs and Teletuners and Teletubbies and whatever. They're all different from each other. You can actually take these things, turn them on, make a sound, you know, and pick different notes, and have the other tuner on with just the mic to pick it up, or run a cord out of here into the other tuner, and it will show it flat or sharp on each of the notes. It's funny how off all the guitar tuners are. So when you are in a band, either everybody use the same tuner, which sucks, or go somewhere and buy tuners together. Check them all out and say, okay, this one actually tunes up to this one. You know, check them. It's a lifesaver. I mean, you're always going to be, somebody's out of tune all the time. It's the tuners, man. They're not consistent in any way, shape, or form. Don't think any of them are going to be right, because they're not. You have to check them, because they are wrong until you get a very high-end tuner, and even then they may be off. And you can't tune to a piano. Pianos and keyboards are tempered, meaning the flatter, the lower notes, the lower you go on the keyboard, are actually tuned flatter. So the harder you hit them, the higher, you know, it's just the way it is. You hit, just like on any string, the harder you hit it, the sharper the note goes. So all these low strings on a piano, they are tuned flat. Actually the high strings on a piano or a keyboard, they're the same way, and they react the same way these days, because they sample everything and things are getting very great. Just like modeling amps and so forth, or the fractal systems, Axe effects and so forth, are so close. I mean, they sound exactly like the real deal. The fractal systems, you can't tell them from the real thing, because they are the real damn thing pretty much. And there's no reason to take an amp anymore, anywhere. It's just the way it is. But again, so don't tune to keyboards. Get tuners that everybody has that work together. Again, like I said, having everybody tune up through one tuner is optimal, but it's stupid. You can't, on a big stage, have the bass tech over here and the two guitar techs over here, and then your pedal one over there that you need at the spur of a moment. You'll still see all the pros, they still got a pedal tuner down there, but they still have their tech over there, but sometimes you need to tune up right in the middle of a song. But they all need to be calibrated correctly. So buy your tuners all at the same time if you're in a band, okay? Or if you put a band together, check your tuners against each other. Other things, tubes. When you go to change tubes, whether it be your preamp tubes or your power amp tubes, change your preamp tubes all at the same time, and then change your power amp tubes at the same time. I'm not saying that change the entire set, all your preamp tubes and your power amp tubes at the same time. Just whenever it's time to change whenever a preamp tube goes bad, just get over there and tap it with something while it's on, of course. Just go across the back, tap it with something like this while it's on. Tap a tube, tap a tube. You know, just do this every few shows. You know, if something sounds wrong, you know, you probably have a bad tube. But just tap it a little bit, tap the next tube. Do it all the way across the whole thing. Tap every tube you have while it's lit up. And if all of a sudden you get a big clang out of it or something, it's that tube. Then you need to replace all of those tubes. If it happened to be a power amp tube and you have a 100-watt head, you're going to have 4 tubes to replace then and there. Don't just replace the one that needs to be replaced or that's going bad. That's the worst thing you can do. So replace, if you're one tube in your power section goes bad on a 100-watt amp, replace all 4 of them. 50-watt amp, replace the 2 of them. If you've got 6 preamp tubes like I do back here in this Fender, and one goes bad, replace all 6 at the same time. It's just what you're supposed to do, and it's the right thing to do. Tubes are temperamental as all hell, but they are not as fragile as most people think. But still, keep in mind that they are filaments in there. Just like light bulbs. They're getting ready to outlaw regular light bulbs. So some countries have already done it. So your incandescent light bulbs that have the filaments in them, like we've always known, are no longer going to be allowed. We're going to be allowed LEDs and fluorescents and so forth, but which is a great thing. But tubes have the filaments in them. When they get hot, just like old-fashioned lights, they are fragile. Okay, so when you shut your tube amp off, which reminds me, when you go to turn a tube amp on and you've got a standby, yeah, turn the standby on, but you do not have to turn the standby on again before you shut the amp down. You can just shut the amp off. You don't need a standby then, but yes, when you're turning it on. But no to the standby when you're turning it down. Just turn it down. Give it about 10 minutes to cool down a bit before you move your amp and bang it around a lot. But you can actually still, once the tube's cooled down, you can bang it around just like any other amp. It's not going to hurt it. Your solid states have the silica crap that it's, the capacitors and crap, everything's made out of. That's just as fragile as a glass tube. As long as you have the back on the back of there to cover your tubes and the little things that go around them, you're fine. But be careful when they are hot, because they are going to break if you shake them around too much, which is why a lot of bass players will have shock mount racks to put their heads in, because bass amps just, the rumble that comes through those cabinets, if you take, your Ampeg SVT head, stick it on there like people used to do, it will sit there and rumble like this with its tubes just smoking in there. And then just the pure rumble of the bass amp shaking the cabinet and then shaking your tube head will fry your tube out. So you don't want that to happen. So some people put a piece of foam there just to kind of keep it from doing that. Other people put it in a rack mount protected road case that has the shock resistant thing. So that's why you see a lot of them, they'll just take their head and put it on the floor or put it somewhere else and you just see the cabinets. It's there to keep from the vibrations. Okay, so watch out for that. What else? Oh, when you are, and I don't have much time, I've got a little bit. Old trick, speaker cables, guitar cables, blah blah blah. Never interchange them, of course. Never use a speaker cable for a guitar cable and vice versa. You try to use a guitar cord in a pinch, you're going to easily fry your cabinet or your even worse, your power amps or your powered PA head or whatever. Anyway, guitar cord. Let's see if this will go up there. I'll do this so it'll focus. You got your hot wire right here. Okay, see how it's okay, it's got the wrapping around it. The other one, like is just nothing but the silver cord braided back here, but it does not have any kind of plastic protection here. It is not shield. This is shielding. Okay, so you have one shielded cable on a guitar cord, the other one's just a ground and it is not shielded. Speaker cables, when you open up the ends like this, will both be shielded. So you'll have one shielded here, it might be one color, one might be another color, but they'll both be shielded. So that's how you tell the difference between them if you just don't know. Plus your speaker cable should be much thicker than your guitar cables. There's no reason to have skinny speaker cables. You need thick 10, 12 gauge speaker cables. Power goes to them, signal just goes through these things, so you can get away with these little guys. Okay, anyway, to test, this is an old trick, but to test speakers out and so forth, to make sure you have your cables going the right way or that you did your speaker right, that you wired the speakers right. It's like, you had to go change something, a speaker in your amp or whatever. Plug in, your cable into your jack, and to just make sure that it's right and it's not sucking in one of the other three cabinet, speakers in your cabinet or blowing out. You just want to make sure it's right. So you take the negative, which is the big part, put it on the sleeve, is what it's called. That's the sleeve. There's the tip, just like your penis. So you got your shaft, and then when you touch that hot one to the tip and just hold it, that speaker should just go and be sticking out until you let off of it, then it will go back to normal. Okay, if you've got it wired backward, and you do this. Again, the hot one goes to the tip, positive to the tip. If you got it wired backwards in there, the speaker will suck down and suck in. So, simple battery test. Do that, and check it out. Don't do it while it's plugged into your amplifier or anything like that. You don't want to send power into your amplifier like that. But just simple test. Some people don't know that. It's a very simple test, and an easy way to also check your cables if you don't have color-coded junk inside, to find out which side's positive, which side's negative. Plug it into your speaker thing just to find out before you solder the other end. Just kind of, hold it on there, the cables inside. You've got this here, just hold that wire on there and hold this wire here, and just, the other side's already soldered up and you just want to make sure it's down here. Do this and have the other side plugged into your speaker cabinet, and then touch it to there, and if it goes outward, then that means, okay, you've got it wired right. Go ahead and solder it. Okay, so just a quick, easy way to do that. And just a couple other things. Headphone jacks. On your computer, on your iPods, on your anything, on your keyboards, these have power coming out of them. Those are amplifiers in there. Even in your little phone or whatever that you plug your earbuds into, that's power coming out. That is not meant to be plugged into anything. Your amplifier, your sound system, whatever. You got your little speaker output there on the front of your laptop. When you're running backing tracks or whatever through it. You are not supposed to come out of the headphone output and then plug it into your PA. No, no, no. Same with your keyboards. You don't plug out of there. They have line outs. You need a line level signal coming out, not an amplified thing. You can maybe get by with it if you turn the volume on your gadget, whatever it is, way, way, way down. But when are you going to get a keyboard player to turn his keyboard almost off, and then you get all this noise when you have to try to turn it up so far? You need to run the line out, never the headphone jack. Okay, so and plus, if you have a stereo plug, I know all of you know what these are, and I probably don't have to show you, but tip ring, blah blah blah, stereo plug. This is to make it focus again. Okay, so you see the two black bands around. It means that's stereo. Okay, that plugs into your front of your laptop or whatever. Okay, no. What you do with a laptop anyway, you come out of a USB port, then you have to buy an external sound card. It's a box about this big. Then you have to buy cables that come out of there, a right and a left, and then they go to whether you need the these guys, or whether you need the 1/4 inch to go into 2 different channels on your PA if you're running it in mono, because you'll need like channel 23 and then channel 24 on a mixer, because there's a different program coming out of the left and the right side. So if you're running your PA in mono, they have to have different channels that can't go into a simple mono channel and both things come out. You're going to have, because it's got 2 different things. When you hear stereo, there's different shit coming out of this side than there is here. So you have to have both things in different channels. If you're running stereo, of course you can run it into a stereo channel. Every board has them these days. This board over here has 8 stereo channels on it. So you can only burn one channel, right and left, and it naturally does both sides. But again, and same with keyboards. If you plug in your keyboard to the headphone jack and you just plug a guitar cord in there, okay, that's a stereo jack. It's supposed to have crap like this for your headphones. You plug a guitar cord in there, you're only picking up part of what the keyboard is doing. Okay, so say it's keys and strings together. Well, normally it sounds great but through the headphones, but when you plug it through the mains, all of a sudden you can't hear the strings anymore. You hear the piano and the strings in a distance. That's because you ran a mono cord into a stereo jack. Never ever do that for any reason. So many things are supposed to be stereo, and then you got to burn 2 channels for it if you're running your system in mono. So do not ever, for any reason, iPod, whatever, MP3 players, don't ever use that jack. It's not what it's there for. Plain and simple. Okay, so that's a biggie. You don't realize how important that is. And let's see if I have anything else to let you know. I think that's about it. No, there's a couple more. My Kotex thing. Got that. Okay, the last two I'm going to tell you about, I think that's it, except for the drum things that I wanted to talk about in this particular one. I know I take for damn ever. What are we at? 50 damn minutes already. But so be it. Drummers, you bastards. Okay, your drummer sucks if he can't play light when he needs to. And that is the case with most drummers. So, you end up having to get the big acrylic shield that goes around them to shut them the hell up on stage because they can't. They don't have the ability or the skill to hold back and still play well. That's one side of a horrible drummer. Other ones just refuse to play because they don't want to play unless they are allowed to fucking do this all the time. You can't do that all the time because then it compromises the entire mix on stage. Everybody's trying to turn up louder than the next guy. So number one, fire that guy. But if you do have to buy the drum shield, the plexiglass thing, remember the drummer still has to be in the PA system because once you put that shield around him, the drum set is going to sound like total shit out front if you don't mic it up. You know, it's just going to sound like a dog with a sock in its mouth. That's what it sounds like, I guess. That's how the name Mark came up. They invented the word Mark. What should we call the baby? Dog had a sock in its mouth that tried to say bark. Bark! I know, it's bad, Mark. Okay. Scotty needs his pills. Okay, so yeah, you got to mic everything up to get the clarity back. But at least it will shut the sumbitch up on stage. Better yet, electronic drums. They are amazing these days. The Roland, their new TD30 set. Good God. If you can have 40 great sounding sets at your fingertips, why not? And you can totally control your volume, every last bit of it. Never have to change a head, never have to tune one, never have to worry about micing them and gating them and compressing them. And all of a sudden you've got the wrath of God sets. Why wouldn't you buy them? I don't know. Fucktards. Drummers are just not musicians. Yeah, they're not. That's why there's that many jokes and stereotypical things about drummers. If drummers don't know how to tune their drums, which is usually, especially double-headed drums, top and bottom, and you go to mic them, and it just gets real loud through the PA and it's just horrible, that means your drummer's a dumbass. It is really difficult to tune both heads. They're supposed to be tuned to certain notes, drums are, for their sizes. The bright ones actually have a rack there with a tuner in it, and they tune them to that. Top head, bottom head, tuned to two different things so that they will not actually boring on you. It's a science, and a tuner is used for drums too. Okay? Hand to God. So you have to go out, and for every single drum you have to buy a stereo compressor with a gate or whatever for every single drum to literally put a gate so that right after he hits it, it has to shut off that mic so it won't go boing through your system. So you have to boom, and you get that, and then you have to add reverb to it just to make it sound like it's in the room instead of just boom and beating on top of an oatmeal box that's empty. Which that's what it'll sound like if you don't have to fatten it up. So if you have to cover up for your drummer with that kind of crap, again, send him to school or send him packing. Okay? Yeah, I know Tommy Lee, he's packing for a drummer. We've seen the video, whether we want to or not. Have you ever seen that Pamela Lee and him, that video on the yacht in 3D? Whoa. Okay, so, yeah, if you could do electronic crap, man, do it. It's amazing these days. Same thing, like I said, with the fractal amp, the effects thing. Preamp is just amazing. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff. Hope some of you enjoyed it, and again, these are all facts. They're not made up in any way, shape, or form. I just thought you would enjoy just a plethora of junk instead of me making a separate video for each one of these. So I know it won't be as easy to look them up for everybody. They'll have to sit through it to learn anything. So hopefully the people who actually sat through this entire mess learned something. Again, none of it is false, not a bit of it. So if you learned something, cool. If you already know everything, well, if you already know everything, you wouldn't be looking at these anyway. So, once again, Scott Grove's GroovyMusicLessons.com. Go there and get tons of free lessons. Tons of videos just like this in my X-rated section on there. You'll see it. It's got 3 X's on it, and it says something. But yeah, you actually got to push a button because I sometimes cuss on these things for some reason. But yeah, that's where you'll find all my stuff nice and categorized, so you don't have to go looking all through, what, damn near 600 videos on YouTube at the making of this video. So that's what I could think of just for today to toss out there. Again, hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, that, and shut up. Don't leave a comment just to leave a comment or to bash one of them, because if you're bashing one, number one, you're a dumbass and you're wrong. Number two, I'll erase it and block you, which is no big thing to either one of us. So if you don't want to know, stay the fuck away from me. If you got, like I said, if you know it all, you shouldn't be here anyway. You should be teaching. Okay? So once again, I'm me, you're you. That's it. My little contribution to the world again for today. Which is, what is today? June 7th, 2013. It was 113 degrees today here in Nevada and 8% humidity. So I need to turn on my 4 humidifiers, 3 cold ones, 1 heated one, and get my guitars back up because everything's, I'm down to 18% humidity in this room, and I got to get it back up to about 50% humidity in here. So they've got a lot of overtime to do. So again, be groovy, okay? Talk to you later, and hopefully you'll listen later. I don't know what to say, but no, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. It doesn't matter. Verizon's listening to us all anyway. You hang up. Then all of a sudden the guy on the other side, yes, we can hear you. Okay, I'm out of here. I'm going to take some drugs. Take care. Bye.